Welcome to Retail Intelligence in Action, a limited video podcast series from Ometria and OFFBounds, where we cut through the hype and talk honestly about how AI is reshaping enterprise retail marketing. I'm your host, Ron Thurston, and in every episode, I'm joined by one of the founders of Ometria, either Djalal Lougouev or Ivan Mazur, as we explore what's real, what's next, and what it means for leaders building the future of this industry. Our guest is Pri Shumate, a powerhouse in global sport, lifestyle, and apparel marketing. Over her 20-plus year career, Pri has led transformative brand and marketing strategies at Nike, Airbnb, Columbia Sportswear, and the Miami Dolphins, blending data, culture, and creativity to unlock exponential growth. She's known for her unique story-doing approach, where participation marketing drives deeper emotional connections with consumers. Today, she advises brands on how to move fast, validate ideas quickly, and rewire how teams operate in the AI-first environment. We talk about resistance, experimentation, and what it takes to lead with both ambition and empathy in a fast-changing world. So let's jump into the conversation. Pri and Djalal, welcome. Really happy to have you both here.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Really happy.
Thanks, Ron.
You're welcome. Happy to have this conversation. You have such an extraordinary background, Pri.
Thank you.
And it was really a pleasure to introduce you and to think about the experience you have in retail marketing and branding from all kinds of different industries. So I am thrilled to have this conversation with you.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here with you guys.
Great. You have thought about the last, say, 5 years of the evolution of technology and we'll just say retail intelligence. When did you know things are going to change?
When I really found out that things were going to change was in my last role. Okay. Not a retail role, but a lot of the things apply in the same way. In my last role as CMO of the Miami Dolphins, that organization included the Miami Dolphins, F1 Miami GP, Miami Open of Tennis, lots of different properties in very different stages of business and brand development. It was very busy. We had to move very quickly. And we didn't have enough people. And so immediately we're like, hey, what can this thing do for us, right? And so myself and some of my teammates just started to toy around with the tools to try to understand, like, hey, can we put in our information and see if it can help us define sales pacing? Can it help us to define optimal brand spend? Can it help us tell us who's coming to the race and who's not coming to the race? Can it tell us the audiences that might be the same for all three of our properties? So we've started to play with the tool with our everyday questions.
And things you couldn't find otherwise. Or it would take deep weeks of analysis.
That's the thing, right? We had pretty decent buyer data.
Okay.
But particularly for F1 Miami, for instance, we knew every year that we had to go out and get thousands of new people to buy tickets, right? It's not an event that you come to every single year.
Okay.
And so it was this gigantic audience, brand new, that we had to go seek. Our goal was to try to understand more and more, not only about the people that were coming, but the people that weren't coming. And how could we convince them? We started to toy around, and I think I realized that it was going to be really impactful when we started to ask about use cases and reasons for attending the event. And I'll be frank, like, it wasn't revolutionary. Most of the audiences that it served up were audiences that we had already thought about. However, what it did do very quickly was kind of give us a little bit of like, hey, what's the size of this audience? What's the potential of this audience? What's the influence of this audience? Which is something that our tools weren't giving us. Not quickly, and that we were asking of agencies, but it also was a much more laborious process. So that's when we knew, okay, this is going to change things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that didn't necessarily change your team. It just changed how they worked.
That's right. In the beginning, anyway. I think that in the future, it's going to be different. I think team structures will have to be looked at. But at this early stage, it was really about, hey, what are the things that we're curious about? Let's enlist this tool, essentially, right? Like, and again, I think it's really important to note, like, nothing was revolutionary. but it was definitely additive and validating. Like, you have an idea, you put it out there, this thing that has such a great capability shoots back at you that, yes, you're right. And have you thought about this? You know, and so it became just a really great thought partner for a team that was really maxed out.
Yeah. And how did your team respond?
I think that on the leadership level, there was some concern.
Okay.
You know, just like, hey, how do we use the tool? I don't know that industry is as advanced as the retail industry, for instance, right? There was a little bit of hesitancy into like, how do we use this? Should we use this? What is it going to give us? And who checks on that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And which really brings up such an interesting part. And Djalal, I'll throw this to you. This same, like, start small, ask maybe a language model some basic questions, and discover and test and learn and try exactly as Pri's describing. Do you see that as a common trend?
The use case that Pri mentioned, it's exactly what we're experiencing with some of the brands. And it's quite interesting because, as Pri mentioned, it's nothing crazy, it's nothing like revolutionary, but it gives you validation to go by your instinct. Because you might be thinking about something, right? And then you're like, okay, but what is the current process today to get an answer to anything? If you want an answer to a data problem, you have to ask your data science team if you have one, if you're lucky enough to have one. It's very difficult today. If you do have a data science team, it needs to be prioritized, right? Because they're working on a whole bunch of different things. Yeah. And if you have a hunch or a question that you want answered, you're not going to take that priority. So if you have a data science team, then there's complexities within the data science team. If not, you go to an agency. It's going to cost you, I don't know, like 10 grand per question.
And 2 weeks later.
Yeah, and 2 weeks later on a static report, right? And if you want to follow up, you're going to wait another 2 weeks? Right. Okay, you might have a technology in place, but then it's kind of manual reporting and bespoke reporting. You have to do some tweaking. So in today's world, what is given we have the luxury of being the CDP and access to all the data, actually something we've been working together with our advisory board, is answering those questions in real time. If someone has an instinct, someone has like a gut feeling about something, you can overlay data to prove whether it's actually even worth pursuing or to get that sense check. And I think it could be something as basic as, I don't know, what did my new customers that came from SMS bought last Black Friday, Cyber Monday? Simple. You get the answer, but then you're like, okay, but what about this SKU or about this color? If they bought this, what'd they go buy next? Yeah. And it's all something that's quite conversational. But today, to get those answers, if you actually think about it, is super difficult and so cumbersome. Right. So AI basically, and I call it AI at the end of the day, it's just the combination of data and applying any existing LLM to be able to provide that answer, unlocks so many things. And it's just like one of a million use cases about deep insights, and different agents can provide those answers. So I think it's a pretty cool way to kind of validate and test and experiment.
You know, I have a couple of examples actually that we did that speak exactly to that. We had a hunch that if we sold a product in F1 that was associated with a Formula One team, say McLaren, people would be more excited to come. And so we tested out a grandstand product that was the McLaren grandstand. We probably wouldn't have tested it out had we not gone to AI and validated it, you know? And so I think that that's one example. The other example is when we were really trying to figure out the reasons why people came, right? I think that one of the things that was really important on the luxury products was, hey, people want to network. They want to meet other people that are of importance, essentially, right? Yep. So we made sure that our communication didn't spell that out. It was really about video, but it was really showing the networking opportunities that you might have in a luxury product in a Formula One race, right? So it's a little bit of that show and tell, but all of those things came. We had more confidence to do them because we tested it with the tool and we knew that we were in the right direction.
Yeah. Which is interesting because traditionally you would work off like a 5-year plan or a longer strategy. What you're describing are quick test, learn, try. You know, you're not building a 5-year plan here.
That's
right. So how did that change how you worked?
What it did is, again, it validated some of the quick instincts that we had, right? It allowed us to move faster. When you don't have, you know, in this case, right, this is a race. And every year it's the same, but it's different every year. There's different things happening in the world. It's like next year, for instance, there's a World Cup that's next to the race. Well, that impacts the race. So it's essentially a very similar but very different product. And so you don't have time for a 5-year plan, right? You have to understand what's happening in the world. How can I plug in the data that I have plus some predictive data that AI can offer as well, and just get a little bit of validation, have it boost your confidence, and try, right? So I think that's why it was so useful for us. And I think we also saw that it was a vehicle for speed, and it was also a vehicle for introducing new concepts to the teams. And that was really helpful for us.
And did you see a lift in business because of it?
One of the things that we did because of this validation around reasons for attending the race, we really doubled down on product marketing. So in previous years, it was more like, hey, here's the race is coming. And this particular year, because of the work that we did with AI around different use cases and reasons for people to attend the race, we were able to actually think about, okay, if this is your reason to come, this should be the product, and this is how we should communicate the approach, right?
Making some assumptions.
Exactly. But then because the ones that we had validated, right, we said, hey, this is enough for us to try product marketing. And so it wasn't AI that provided a lift in business, but product marketing did. And we probably wouldn't have gotten to the product marketing answer had we not felt good about our decision because we were utilizing the tool. So, did AI help us boost sales? No, but product marketing did.
Right.
And that's how we arrived there. And I think that, from a luxury perspective, for instance, we had incredible lift. And then overall, we had better product marketing fit, product market fit. And because we had better product market fit, we didn't have to discount.
Yeah.
And that was huge because not only we held price, right, which is great for revenue and profitability, but it was also really great to position the race as a premium product.
Yeah.
Right. And I think when you look back in the very beginning of the process, we wouldn't have been able to make all of that, create all that strategy in a couple of months had we not had the help of artificial intelligence.
Yeah. And if you think back to your career, some of the other brands you've led, marketing, Airbnb, Nike, if you had these tools today, how would that have changed your work?
Oh, I think it would have been incredible. In certain organizations, for instance, that were a bit more conservative, but that leaders kind of had this idea of like, oh, we need some AI. It would have been a really great tool, actually, I think, to convince the leadership team that we should do things. So I think that internally,
maybe take some risks.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you have, these leaders that know we got to get some AI.
Right.
And so you're like, hey, we're getting some AI. I'm plugging this stuff in. Here's what it's telling us, Let's select a couple of these things to try.
Right.
So I totally can see leaders that I had in the past that were a bit more conservative that would now probably have a bit more openness to some of the risks that they thought we were proposing, but that maybe weren't risks at all.
Right. So interesting. Djalal, in similar experiences, I guess same question to you. Your journey maybe with Ometria the last decade, if you think about early customers and where you are today, how would it change their business?
The leadership team, and sometimes to get buy-in is very difficult because if the actual people deploying and experimenting and running these campaigns don't have the buy-in, it's very difficult to convince them that AI is actually going to help and improve many, many things. And what we find fascinating is that both in terms of usage, and you have it both at like IC level, at management level, but also at C level. So anyone can interact. It's an interface to interact and query your data, unlike ever before. And that's just like, once again, one use case. For example, we call it our Deep Insights agent. Others call it different ways, but you're able at any level to interact and brainstorm like with your data. It's like visualize that your data becomes some sort of conversational entity.
Yeah.
And you can just like spend hours and days just speaking to it and getting insight. And right now it's obviously a text interface, but It's just a matter of flipping a switch to then having conversational thing. I don't know if you guys find this, but sometimes I go on a walk and I start talking to my chat GPT for like random things. And it's like a brainstorm. It's freaky because it's so good. But imagine that you're interacting with your data and it can like speak back to you, like the brainstorming and the experimentation. Like in what company today that every employee has access to a data scientist that's like on steroids and has every single data point that they could ever think of. And on top of that, you have, as Pri mentioned, like predictive data layered on top of it.
Yeah.
I don't know, you have John Smith, and the predictive data on top of it is that you can anticipate what they're likely to buy next, what their affinity towards different channels or categories are, when they're likely to lapse, when they're likely to churn. So like, it's becoming crazy, yeah.
I mean, as you're talking, I keep thinking back to my time at Nike and, you know, the work that we did across categories. And I think I would just have died for that. I mean, to have a conversation with my data is awesome. You know, when you find it's so hard, right, to get, to your point, the time of that data analyst. And the reality is, the data analyst might not have, I think that they'll have a lot of curiosity, but they might not have the same level of like just work experience that you have, you know? And so being able to speak to that, to the tool in the way that you're describing, and it's mining your data, is a true dream. So that would be incredible.
As you say, like there are some phenomenal data analysts and scientists out there, but they sometimes lack, let's say, the commercial or the business or the marketing knowledge.
That's right.
Here you have it all included, because it's kind of knowledge from everything that's combined. So it's a pretty interesting concept, but ultimately, if you really simplify it, you're just speaking to the most advanced data analyst there is in the world. And he knows everything about your business. He knows everything, or they know everything about your customer. At that level, you just get it. And it's like pretty simple.
Right.
Don't think about like technology or LLMs or whatever else. It's just you're speaking or typing to someone who's extremely knowledgeable.
So, you know, I did do an experiment on ChatGPT, again, with all the brands that we have, right? F1. I built a tool for each one. So I built different logins on ChatGPT for each one of them, and I customized them. So today I'm working with a variety of different clients. I left that role and have started my own company. And so I have a variety of different clients, and each one has a different login, and I'm customizing the heck out of the tool. And the reality is, if I enter the same question to the different, essentially, accounts that I've built, I do get different answers.
Which is
pretty amazing.
Which is exactly the way it should be. You know, that idea. You brought up agencies before, and I want to follow up because many brands, certainly at the larger and enterprise level, have used agencies for years to help with this. How is retail intelligence changing that relationship?
I think there's two areas primarily. One of the things that we were finding, and I didn't get to kind of see this through because I left the role, but we were finding tremendous potential in time and cost savings with agencies once you had the big coalescing idea. I think I still see a lot of value in a creative agency to kind of help you land on that big disruptive idea or narrative. But once you have that, we found that we needed the agency less, because we could then plug that in to AI, brief it really well, and I'm going to say brief it really well, and then get a lot more output faster, cheaper back.
Makes sense.
So I think it saves time, money, and it provides greater output once you have that big disruptive coalescing idea. So that's the only thing that I'm still kind of like, the jury's out for me, is I'm not sure that the AI tool is going to come out with that big disruptive idea. I think it's a better idea developer than it is an unearther of
generator,
new ideas.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And those agency partners, were they the ones that helped you with that big idea?
Yes.
That came to the table and said, we have something brand new you've never heard before.
Yes.
Yeah. So that does not exist. That's an interesting evolution.
Yeah.
How did the team skill set need to evolve as agency shifted in some of that?
The thing that we need to have, again, is like really great strategists and creatives that can then check and make sure that the tool is doing what you want it to do, right? Even as we enter a world where, you put a goal and the tool does it by itself, essentially, I think that there needs to be a human that kind of checks it.
Yeah.
In terms of how that might evolve in the future, the relationship with agencies, I think the agencies, creative agencies in particular, are going to have to come with new solutions for clients. There simply won't be a world where they're going to get paid for stuff that AI can do. Right?
Exactly.
So they're going to have to evolve, and the relationship is going to have to evolve.
Yeah.
Is it going to be in that strategic portion? Potentially. And then if that's the case, how does that then affect the internal structure of the team? I think that still remains to be seen. But one thing will certainly affect the other.
Yeah. Djalal, what are you seeing there?
I think your example of that big kind of aha moment coming from the agency, I think that's the key, right? And I think the business model is probably going to change. And I think that's where the agency and the human component will be the most additive. Because if you actually look at technology, and I know there's like a lot of fear about replacing jobs and AI taking over, but if you look at like the history, and even now, the best output and the best kind of results are driven when AI is working together with humans. The most common example is chess, right?
Yeah.
I'm terrible at chess, but I love chess. And it's like, if you look at all the different parameters, you need to, at the end of the day, the fewer mistakes you make and the less you blunder, that what makes you win games, at least at the early stages. But then you have like computational power to calculate all the steps or moves in advance. You have like prevention of making mistakes, but you have the creativity. So the AI, the LLM, can do the computational and make sure that you don't make any silly mistakes, but the psychology of the other player and the creativity of the human adds a lot of value. And if we look at healthcare, even if we look at retail, I don't see AI fully taking over the creative side yet. And just like with agencies, I think that big aha or great idea, they will generate, but the 90% of manual work that they do today to come to that idea could be automated.
Right.
So it's AI and technology coming together with humans to drive the best possible result. And I think it's a win-win for everyone, because unfortunately, obviously, agencies won't be able to charge us as much unless that idea is worth it. But all the manual work and all the kind of resources that go into, let's say, the research or whatever else happens before the big idea, that could be significantly streamlined.
Yeah.
So I think it's, once again, that collaboration is probably going to be the theme for the next 5 years. I think there's definitely areas where technology and AI will just take over and like human input is less valuable. And I remember like when there was like a evolution or revolution in shops, in the checkout where you had like cashiers and then now it's like fully automated. Like that took a while to get through, but like now there's no point. Right. So I think there are certain jobs and use cases that will be fully automated.
Yeah.
But as soon as there's something with a bit of creativity, and I love your example, I think that's that needs to happen in collaboration.
I think the other area too is just that insight seeking. I'm a romantic about insights. I think that creativity, great creativity, follows a very strong insight. And again, I think that the tool is going to deliver to you 1 million insights. I think that it's going to take a human to come in and say, this is the insight that we should follow.
Here's the big idea.
Here's the big idea, right? And then there's the creativity portion. The rest, I think it's going to be automated. So, when I think about it, it's like, okay, so you need like that strategist, brand management person that kind of, briefs and provides the insight and that just ensures that everything is like in the guardrails that you want it to be, right? But some of the other functions, maybe less functional leadership.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds heretic in some cases, but it is a new world, right? So it's interesting because you've always needed, like good brands always had strong brand management leadership.
Visionaries.
Exactly.
About marketing. Right?
Exactly. Or at the very least, like really strong design thinking, right? Like, and I think that over the years, as performance marketing became a bigger thing, they lost a little bit of their sexiness.
Yeah.
I think that that's going to come back because you need that person to kind of rally everything. Because think about it. If the idea, the insight and the idea that's coalescing everything isn't good, you're going to have more of crap out in the world. So in a world pre-AI, you were still limited by your own, bandwidth.
Right.
Now, if the idea is great, you're in a position to create much greater impact than you were before.
Yeah.
But if the idea is bad, it can be much more damaging than it was before.
Yeah, that's so interesting because, when I think about careers in marketing, and I that was not my career, but I think maybe about yours, probably early on, the dream is to be that creative. That's why you become a marketer, because you're inherently creative. You inherently love to do that work. And I agree with you. What I have observed as an outsider working within brands is it's so deliver that creativity is diminished.
Yeah.
And just listening to you speak, it really clicks. It's like the power is in the creativity. And I had mentioned, we're here in studio across the street from FIT, one of the most creative universities in the country. And, I've been there a couple of times as a guest lecturer recently, and that's my message. Like your creativity is your most valuable asset. Whether you go into fashion design, marketing, merchandising, don't let the rest of it drag you down because AI will do the rest of it.
Exactly.
Your creativity can't be replaced. And I think what you're describing and the evolution you're watching really validates that for me. You should come with me, across the street.
Let's go.
Talk to them because
let's encourage them, right?
I think they're overwhelmed often by the fact that AI will create a world where I'm not valuable. And your value is in your creativity and to really lean in there as much as possible. Because it's exactly what you're describing. Those people are now the most valuable people in the company.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because when we think about what AI is going to do to teams, I think if all of a sudden everything is done by AI, then will they have pride in their work? Yeah. Will they be accountable for the work? And so I think that there needs to be, we have to inspire people and let them know that they have a big role in this. And it's going to be the difference between the great brands and the good enough brands, because AI is definitely going to give you good enough.
So when you think about all the efficiencies that you're describing, where has that extra time gone? Is it into creativity? Is it into shifts in skill set, department reallocation of headcount? What has happened?
Yeah, I think in my last role, that's exactly where it was going. It was going again into that insight seeking.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like, hey, we have a little bit more time. Like, let's get creative. Let's think about even new products. Let's think about and then the last thing, frankly, that we didn't quite see through, but I think it's an opportunity going forward, is just better alignment and cross-functional communication between teams. I think that in so many of our worlds, you have teams that are so siloed. You have teams sometimes that are, strategy, brand, performance, partnerships. Let's bring all those groups together. And I think that now with the power of AI, the idea that these folks together come up with is going to be most meaningful. And so spending a little bit more time together is going to be really critical too, I think.
Do you think because of maybe the validation of data, often that lack of interdepartment relationships is because they don't believe the data that other departments bring?
That's right.
And I actually think now it's you can't actually battle the conversation of we're all using the same tool. We've come to the table with information, not opinions. We've come with data. Now let's understand how we can work together to solve this. in my experience, that didn't happen very often.
It didn't. And I think that there was so much dispute, and
It said so many opinions.
So many
whoever
opinions.
has the biggest title wins.
Exactly.
Always at the table.
You are so right.
Yeah.
And so I think that now, this is not one insight that, maybe I hired an agency to provide. This is an insight that we've tested across these gigantic language models.
Yeah.
And it says, yes, move ahead, you know? So I do think that that's going to change things.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Jalal, how have you seen the role of retail marketing executives change the last couple of years? Because that's primarily who you engage with.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, it hasn't been as drastic as one would like, because I think that's where the current challenges are, is that we've talked a lot about efficiencies and insights and speed, but ultimately it needs to lead to a tangible outcome. And I think there are a lot of blockers, especially at enterprise, that prevent retail leaders or marketers to implement those insights at the speed that they would like. And to your previous question, imagine that, okay, I've probably saved a lot of time. I'm a marketer, and instead of doing a whole bunch of manual work, I've spoken to the deep insights agent. I understood exactly what my customers want, but I have to deploy 5 campaigns. So yes, I maybe have saved, 50% of my week doing the manual work, but I'm not necessarily going to be as efficient as I would like, because for me to implement those 5 campaigns, I still have blockers. So that's why it takes a lot of change management and restructuring within the business, and cross-functional team kind of alignment, that you can go from data to insight to action and result. If that chain is broken, you can have as much insight as you want, but if you can't action it, it's kind of going back to the old kind of consultancy days and agency days. You get a giant PDF.
You said you wanted to work at McKinsey.
I did.
Oh,
I
gosh.
did.
200-page PowerPoint
200-page PowerPoint. It's going to sit on someone's desk
for $450,000.
at the very least. At the very least, you paid $500,000. It's on your desk. It's going to sit there for a month. You probably have some great insight in there, but nothing's going to happen. So now it's going to cost you not $500,000. It's going to cost you $50, and instead of a year, it's going to take you a day. Fantastic.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you need to implement it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of complexity, especially at enterprise level, to go from insight to result. And there are many steps in between.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's why I say the results and the improvement from the output hasn't been as drastic as it has in terms of efficiency and the insights that we're getting. It's a matter of time, but that's why kind of looking at an enterprise level tech stack, data, team, cross-functional kind of alignment is absolutely vital to reach the end goal. Because if you have a top-down initiative and go implement some AI, and then everyone will be running around showing these insights, fantastic, and it's a great step.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you want results, and I think you need to go all the way to truly consider yourself as an AI organization that has gone through that transformation. And whoever does that sooner rather than later will have a huge head start for the things to come.
Yeah. Kind of slowing down to move faster in some ways.
I think that's right. Because it's, what you're saying really resonates. It's here comes the leader. Some AI. Every group is trying to do the AI thing, So you have to slow down, get everybody together, go back to the old racy days and say, okay, here's how we're going to run AI in this company, right? And I think that's the way that you'll get to action quicker. Or there is another way to that, which is the pirate way, right? You have some people within the organization that kind of become the AI pirates, and they're able to implement smaller things that bring smaller results, but then they use that as a proof of concept. So I think that there's those two levels by which it may start to work. One is a bit more direct. The other one is a little bit more,
I actually think the pirate way is
piratey.
the better way. You do a small pirate team, Tiger Team, whatever you want to call it.
Sure. I like Pirate Team.
Yeah.
I've never heard it before, but it's great. I'm going to use that. Pretty aggressive, but I like it. The Pirates, the Pirate Team, they have one specific objective, and they go and just get it done. And then if it's successful, you can then start rolling it out. Yeah.
I think that's probably the way that most companies hopefully will do it, because I think also that you get a level of engagement from the teams too, right?
Yeah.
Like, and we were talking about like, if AI is going to do the work, then are people going to be proud? I think that there's going to be a stage in the next, 1, 2 to 3 years that teams are just excited that they know how to work the tool, right?
Right.
And that they know how to mine their data, and that they found this organization that can help them, and that they found. So I think that, again, to me, a lot of it is, and how do we keep our employees motivated as this kind of transition? And I think that the more hand they have in the work, the better it'll be.
Yeah. Much of that requires a shift in leadership and how you lead. And that is, I think, if I were projecting out time, it is a shift in how you lead. It's multi-generational leadership around AI. It's skill set differently. It's coaching that's very different, because you're coaching on different skills than you ever have before. And that's putting pressure, I think, on companies too. Because if the leadership team's not evolving their skill set at the same pace that the team is learning new skills, all of a sudden there's going to be this point where you're no longer a leader. You no longer can coach your team because you actually don't understand their work.
That's right.
So there is a breaking point, and I actually see the trains crashing sooner than later, honestly, of these skills. And the multi-generational piece, again, if you're not learning how to do that in conjunction with rises in technology use in the workforce, your leadership becomes really not valuable anymore.
Yeah.
There's a moment in time happening right now. This is why I'm so fascinated by these conversations.
Sorry, it's just there's one that like it's coming to my head. It's like this test and learn approach. Like that's one of the generational leadership gaps.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the ones that like if you're let's call it an older school leader, if you don't get down with testing and learning, you're not going to be valuable for your team.
I agree. And some of that is retail at its core. I often coach brands that have large fleets. Like this is not an 800 store rollout.
That's right.
Let's pick a district of 10 stores and try this and track the results and see what happens. And I get surprising pushback on that idea. Well, if it's not all, then we can't do it. And I think the same thing applies here.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
It's a pirate team running a test in one department, there are leaders who would say, we don't do that here. Culturally, we don't do that here.
Yeah.
Versus others that have a very open mindset, this kind of growth mindset of like, let's test, learn, try it. Go test that with your team.
Yeah.
Come back and tell me what that thinks. It's a very cultural leadership skill.
Yeah, it's interesting. You just reminded me of an internship that I had in college at Target. And one of the things that you had to do is you had to select in a particular week, you had to select the product that you thought was going to sell the most, and you had to build an end cap for that particular product. And then you would compete against the other interns across the country. And it was fantastic, and it was a testing and learning thing. Like Target would take those learnings and they would then apply to a variety of stores if it made sense, So yeah, I think that's one of the key ones. Like we have to learn how to win small. We have to learn how to deploy a couple of different things out there and then very quickly measure success, of course. But that orientation absolutely has to exist.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So just wrapping up here, I'd love to future think and also ask for your advice to junior marketers. So through your career, you've had many, I'm sure, interns, people, recent college graduates, have joined these incredible brands you've led. What advice would you give them today?
It's interesting because the advice isn't that different than what I would have given them before.
Okay.
But I think that today positions them better for the future. And that advice is like, stay curious. Try to get in there and have conversations with the AI tool when you're running, right? Experiment. I think that getting in there and really getting granular. I was mentioning before, like, For each one of my clients now, I have a very specific AI tool that I've built that's fully customized, and it took me forever. But the reason why I started to do that was because my son, actually, he's 15, came to me and he was like, oh yeah, so how did you customize your ChatGPT bot or your Claude thing? And I was like, customize? What do you mean? He was like, let me teach you.
He's your new intern.
He's my new intern, exactly. But he was curious, right? And I think that's all, maybe that's a generational thing too. Like, he's a kid that when he sees something on the screen, he's going in there and he's clicking on every button. If you're not used to that, if you're not used to being technical, you might miss some of the things that the tool might do. So, you said something that's really important too. So this is for the junior people, like stay curious, get in there, get specific, get granular. But for leaders, I would say understand what the tool can do, like get in there as well. Yeah. Because if not, you're not going to be as good of a leader. If you don't have that firsthand experience, like go sit with an AI nerd and have them clinic you for a week, you know? Yeah. I think it's so important for us to understand the capability of what's out there.
You can't coach to something you don't understand.
That's right.
And so I agree with that mindset. Again, that's kind of a growth mindset of like, I don't understand what my team is doing or what they're working on or the tools they're using. That's a you problem. So you need to learn, not tell them to stop using the tool, which unfortunately I'm hearing in the workplace of you can't use this, stop using the tools. That's a fear of a lack of understanding in senior leadership, in my opinion, not the other way around. So I think we have work to do there. Yeah. That's great advice.
Absolutely.
Jalal, what's your advice to people joining?
I had a very different answer, but after listening to Pri, I'm going to piggyback off this. Someone once told me interesting people are interested, so I'm all for the curiosity angle. I think you have to ask a lot of questions, especially now. And I think the whole kind of, I'm not technical enough, kind of blocker doesn't work anymore. Like, I remember if you asked anyone in the last, or 3 years ago, if you could go back and study something different than what you kind of studied, everyone would say engineer. Now everyone's like, well, it's kind of writing prompts and understanding how AI, not how AI works, but how to leverage in the best way. So people don't have excuses anymore not to be more curious than they've ever been. It's testing, it's experimenting, and I agree. It's whether the C-level or the intern level, it doesn't matter. Use the technologies, don't fear it, embrace it. It's basically you're getting access to something that humans have never experienced before. It's you get like access to individuals, to artists, to cooks, to data scientists. I mean, if you're not leveraging that and experimenting with that, you're gonna fall behind very, very quickly. So I'm all about kind of the asking the right questions and not having excuses or fear that the technology is going to work against you. It's going to work for you as long as you can leverage it in the right way.
I'm still dreaming about your whole, like, just talking to your data. I love that.
It's good. It's really good. Jalal, where can people learn more about Ometria?
Obviously, ometria.com. We have a lot of events. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn. Find us. My co-founder, Ivan, he likes to talk to people. He loves to talk to people. So reach out to him directly. But we love to hear from retailers. We're passionate about retail. So whether it's to share ideas or learn about problems, objectives, reach out through any means possible, any channel.
Amazing. Thank you. And Pri, where can people find you and you're launching your new business?
Yes, they can find me on Instagram or LinkedIn, Pri Shumate. And I did start this new business that's aiming to connect brands to potential partners a little bit better, leverage that partnership. And that's called Artifact Kitchen. And they can check it out at artifactkitchen.com.
Amazing. I love the name.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Yeah. Thank you both for being here. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on this episode of Retail Intelligence in Action. It reminds us that brands can still move fast and stay deeply connected to their purpose. Thank you to Pri Shumate for your bold perspective, inspiring leadership, and to Jalal and the entire Ometria team for giving marketers the tools to act quickly and confidently in a changing world. As always, deep thanks to Paula Makaji and OFFBounds. Your storytelling vision and creative brilliance are the heart of this series. I'm Ron Thurston. Follow and subscribe to catch every episode on what it really takes to lead in this new era of AI-powered retail. I'll see you soon.